Thanks for coming. This is Trai Hume and Michael O'Neill, Senior Men's Manager. And we'll kick off.
Trai, can I start with you, please?
Sorry, we're just going to wait for the guys next door to come in.
Oh, our media?
No, it's just, yeah.
Is this been told?
Good to see you.
No? You look like you're sneaking into church late.
Well, it is a Sunday. They've already done the sneaking.
Sorry, too late, Kenny.
Okay, are you ready? Ian.
Trai, can I start with you, please? First off, a whole game against Germany at a crunch point in a qualifying campaign. How important is it you make sure you play the game and not the occasion?
Yeah, I think as a young team you probably have to manage that a little bit, but I think based off the past and the big games that we've played in, we haven't let the occasion get the better of us, and we've just gone out and done our job and do what we're asked, and I don't see that being any different tomorrow.
Is it something you talk about in preparation, just mentality as much as sort of tactics and that side?
Yeah, you can do all the tactics and know your job all the best in the world, but you have to go out there and do it, and you have to do it 100%, you have to do it properly. So I think we know that as a team, we're a good group, we enjoy being around each other, and we know how tough it's going to be tomorrow night, and like I said, we just have to go out there and give 100%.
On Friday night against Slovakia, the approach seems to be very much the front foot from the off. How different will it be tomorrow?
No, you can't give anything away, really. We're setting out a game plan, and like I said, we're going to go out there and do it. And I thought we were really good the other night against Slovakia, and we were front foot and we brought the game to them. So we'll see what tomorrow brings.
Michael, first of all, we'll just check if there are any issues in terms of fitness.
No. Oh, clean bill of health, everyone good?
Obviously, we spoke the other night about the loss of Connor for this game. How do you cover for that? What's going to change?
Well, we've got other players that can play in that position, so we're well covered in the squad. We picked a 27-man squad with the intention of knowing that there was potentially suspensions. So we had 4 players coming into this game on yellows. So we covered for that potential eventuality, so that the players, we weren't calling anyone into the squad or they weren't joining up at any point. So the 27 players have been with us since last Sunday. So whoever comes in and plays will be, well conditioned and know exactly what their job is.
Connor obviously offers that sort of outlet to turn defence into attack. Do you need to change the approach at all without him in the team?
I don't think so. Look, the opponent will mean that we have to probably change slightly, but with the home team, we have everything to gain against a team like Germany, and we will do our best to get the performance level at the same level as we had on Friday night, if not better. There's areas still from Friday night where we believe we can still improve, and we'll aim to do that in the game tomorrow night.
Notice that Connor was still out training with the team. Is he still sort of playing a full role in helping prepare for tomorrow?
Yeah, he just did recovery today, and he'll stay with the squad until the games finish. Yeah.
We've spoken before about this being your 100th game, and I know you sort of deflected that. But I just wanted to ask, since you've come back, the main challenge has been almost building a squad, almost completely new squad, almost from teenagers, very young team. How important has that been for you, just as a fresh talent?
Yeah, look, it wasn't, when I looked at the squad when I came back into the job, there was still a lot of players that I'd had from my previous squad that were still playing the game at a good level. Unfortunately, whether it was injury predominantly or retirement, it deprived me of a lot of those players, and I felt that we had to build a team. It was forced on us a little bit, and it was important to see what we had coming through, and We had the likes of Trai, who was just, you know, starting off at Sunderland at the time, and other young players who hadn't even played or had very limited first team experience. So it takes a little bit of time. I think we've probably got there a little bit quicker than maybe envisaged at that point. But the most important thing is that there's still so much room for growth in this group of players, and you know, tonight, or tomorrow night rather, is such a great test for them, and it's a game they should really look forward to and cherish to be involved in, and you know, have a real positive attitude in terms of how we approach the game.
Thanks, Ian. Ruth.
Michael, just off the back of that, how much enjoyment do you get coaching with this special group? You know, we've talked to a lot of players who have talked about how much they enjoy playing under you. How much do you enjoy coaching them?
Yeah, it's been really enjoyable. I think you know, every time you come away, and you know, as an international coach, you're always looking to add something in terms of your preparation, and I think we've done as much as we can in this campaign so far to make sure that everything is done as well as possible. And the most important thing is you get the response from the players, and we've had that. You know, this group, they self-regulate themselves. You don't have to, you know, deal with them too much. They all want to play. There's an enthusiasm to play, obviously. And enthusiasm to learn, which is refreshing, and hopefully they maintain that over the years, because it'll make my job a lot easier. But they're a good group, as I say, and you know, they've got everything in front of them.
7 games on week now at Windsor Park, and I think the aggregate score is maybe 12-0 over the last 5. You built this into a bit of a fortress. You all, as a collective, have built this into a fortress again. How important is that for tomorrow night?
Look, home form is everything. You know, it's very difficult to win on excuse me, on the road in international football. So making sure we're good at home is essential to, you know, giving ourselves a chance to be competitive. And we've got the chance tomorrow night to get a big result, and hopefully we take that.
Was that atmosphere, it reminded a lot of people of the atmosphere, you know, 10 years ago, Euro qualification. Was that as good an atmosphere as you felt at Windsor Park for a long time? Like,
I'll try and answer the question. I've been sick all week, sorry. So, yeah, the atmosphere is great. You know, we've had big games here in the past, and that game, we asked the crowd to give us what they gave us, and the players responded to that. So it is important. You know, I think the team play with a real identity and represent what we are as a country as well, and I think we got that obviously in the performance on Friday night.
I'm trying just to give Michael a minute there to recover. For yourself personally, how much are you enjoying being part of this, you know, leadership group? Michael has talked about sharing the captaincy out between the leaders, and you're obviously one of them. How much are you enjoying that responsibility and, you know, leading this team into a huge game tomorrow night?
No, I think from the start, whenever I first came in, you know, you obviously get your way into the group, and the group's changed since the start. You know, a lot of the older and more senior lads have probably dropped out, and like Michael said, get injured or retired or anything like that. So you kind of had to step up. It wasn't really a choice, to be honest. It probably happened naturally. So yeah, I think obviously we have a young group, but there's a lot of leaders in there, and you know, we just have to keep on improving.
Thanks, Ruth. Gareth, who wants to try?
Just to follow on from that, how important has Michael been in the development of your career, obviously at the national level, but in terms of where you got to so far at club level?
Yeah, I think international football plays a big part in, you know, club football as well. You know, it can help you out, and I think whenever I first came into the squad under, you know, Ian Barraclough, that I probably wasn't playing as much at Sunderland, and I didn't really, obviously he gave me my debut, but I didn't get really many games. So whenever Mike would come in, he, you know, put faith in me to obviously start and play games, and you know, hopefully I'm just paying that off really.
Michael, go back on the 100th game thing. If you get a win tomorrow night, would it constitute the biggest result, or certainly the most significant result in terms of the context of what it could mean in the 100 games?
No, I don't, probably not. Because we qualified for a tournament, you know, and we've won at a tournament, and we got to the last 16 of a tournament. So, sorry not to give you that headline, but yeah, basically, if we win tomorrow night, we'll be on 9 points from 4 games. That's the significance of it, and we've got 2 games left, and that's obviously, the message is pretty clear. This is game 4 of 6. you can label it whatever way you want, but the players are looking at it as game 4 of 6. I'm looking at it game 4 of 6, and we have to make sure, obviously, that we put ourselves in a strong position for game 5.
Importantly, should get away, it keeps qualification in our hands, which is the most important thing we do.
Well, yeah, I don't think we need to look that far ahead. There's various permutations, and in a small group, obviously, it's easy to look ahead and think, well, if that happens and that happens, you know, Germany losing to Slovakia was probably a result that people didn't expect, but it's maybe opened the group up a little bit more. But Slovakia have the benefit of those 3 points that maybe people didn't think they would have. So, look, we have the opportunity now to, you know, do what Slovakia did, and we have to obviously aspire to do that.
Thanks, Gareth. Michael Walker.
Michael, if you go back to that Finland, Greece, they made the two standards, then what do you think of Ukraine, or what do you think of?
I don't, it's hard. I don't know. Everyone seems to want me to pin something down. I don't really have something that, you know, that I would say is the difference with international football is that the team, you know, changes and develops, and there's an evolution throughout. So, you know, I look back to the first game that I won as an international. That was hard to cut as an international manager here against, you know, Russia, with Fabio Capello as the manager of Russia. And, you know, I remember that very fondly as well, because at that point I thought I might never win a match as an international manager. So, yeah, it was a great start for us to be able to do that. And so I think at different points in your career, you take different pleasures from different positive results. You know, we had some great results in 2018, you know, and great performances as well. And you know, so I don't really look back and say that they're the highlights of my career. I'm not really that kind of person that I'm looking for highlights. I'm just looking for progression. And so, you know, obviously we have an opportunity in the game tomorrow night to put ourselves in a really strong position in the group. But it's a big ask. You know, like, I think people have to realise that it's a big ask against, you know, still one of the top teams, international teams in European football. And I think we saw that, and, you know, whilst we were disappointed to lose in Cologne, we saw obviously the strength of the German squad with the changes that, you know, Nagelsmann was able to make between game 1 and game 2, and obviously to be able to bring substitutions into the game, and that made them stronger in that game. So, you know, we'll have to deal with a lot tomorrow night, and we have to be ready for that.
Just whenever Trai mentioned about the players enjoying being in each other's company, and you talking about that enthusiasm to learn, that's a real compliment to all of you and what you're trying to build and do.
Well, look, I think, you know, the players have known each other, a lot of them, from a young age. And then when players come into the group, they've made it easy for them. You know, a lot of the players in our group the majority of our squad is, you know, under 24. Most of it's probably 22 and under. So I think when you're a young player, it's nice to come away. Sometimes when you're that age, you come into a squad, you don't really have that much responsibility, and it can be a little bit intimidating at times. But what we've done with these young players is we've given them responsibility from quite a young age, and the most pleasing thing is that they've accepted that responsibility, and they've, you know, they've dealt with it. I think they have high standards in themselves, and as a group of lads as well. They know when to have fun, they know when not to have fun, and but the most important thing is that there's a real strong spirit in the group, and you know, a real determination to be successful.
Thanks, Michael. Graham.
Trai, I think you said after the game the other night, anything is possible. You've worked hard to put yourself in this position in the group. Belief is a massive thing in the sport. Do you think you kick on from here and qualify from here?
Well, you have to believe anything's possible, really. If you don't believe, then you're not going to be able to do it. Do you know what I mean? But we know how strong Germany are. We knew that from Cologne when obviously they won 3-1, and, you know, we were in the game for a large part of it. But, you know, at that level, if you make mistakes or if you slow down, you know, you'll get punished for it. So we know the challenge that we face, but, you know, like you said, you have to believe always.
Crowd? as well, really lift you as well.
Yeah, the crowd, every game I've played at international level, whether it's home or away, the fans are magnificent and they've always been like that. But, the atmosphere the other night was probably one of the best I've played under for Northern Ireland. So hopefully they can match that tomorrow night and, push us.
Seems to be a close bond between the players almost. Does it feel like kind of a club mentality in an international sport?
There's always a difference between club and international. But, I think if you ask anyone in the squad about coming away, everyone enjoys it. They look forward to it, and even the older lads and obviously the younger ones that obviously don't play as much, but they all come away, they all enjoy it, we all get on with each other, so you do have that wee bit of togetherness, yeah.
Michael, I think Germany game, another double header, the second game of a double header, so it's kind of like physical demands on the players, unfortunately. That's the way the fixtures have fallen. But I suppose with the win against Slovakia, that's the boost, sort of the adrenaline from that, and I don't know, maybe taking the pressure off the players and go out and express themselves. That win was crucial. I know what it's going to be a physically demanding game.
Yeah, look, it was great to get the win the other night and to get the performance that we got. And look, the second game is always easier if you win the first game. But you're right, the physical demands, we put a huge amount into the game on Friday night. We've done a lot of work. The main thing we've done is recovery rather than anything, obviously, in terms of what we've done on the pitch or anything like that there. Anything that we do in terms of the tactical side of the game is pretty much done off analysis and video as opposed to through training. So it's important that we can turn the team around. If you look at our squad, they play. A lot of our squad play in the Championship, so they're used to playing Saturday, Tuesday. That we're playing Friday, Monday. It's the same process. You've got to wheel yourself out again, albeit the intensity of the game is higher than a Championship game. So I think that we have, a lot of players that are used to, turning themselves around. Trai played 46 games in the Championship last season to get himself to the Premier League. So I think the benefit of those players who are in the EFL, they have that experience, and hopefully that will help us. But it's when we will need the bench tomorrow night, obviously, as well, and everyone coming in to be able to play their part and hopefully get us over the line and get us the result that we all obviously would love to get.
I don't know whether it's fair to say that I got a sense from the players afterwards that maybe when we consider the manner of some of the goals maybe that were conceded in Cologne, that could have been possibly a missed opportunity in a way. Is there an opportunity to sort of go out tomorrow and show how good we can be over the 90 minutes, I suppose?
Well, look, I think you look at all goals and there's always something you think could be done better, and I think the second goal was a little bit of a freak goal, really, in terms of the nature of it, and we certainly know we could have defended it better. Like, the free kick for me is not a free kick. It's a fabulous strike, but it's not a free kick to begin with. So that decides the game, and the game can go away from you very quickly. And I spoke to players today about past games we've played here against Germany. We've played very well, and we've been beaten by brilliance, really, at times. Some brilliant goals by the Germans in those games. And if that happens, you can hold your hand up, really, and say, well, we gave everything we could, but ultimately, the quality of the opposition beat us, and that's what we have to try and aspire to. We have to minimise the quality of the opposition tomorrow night, and hopefully that they don't get the chance to show what quality they have in their ranks as well.
Thanks, Graham. Jonathan, then Kenny.
Trey, just on what Michael said there about this being the fourth game of six, like, how easy or difficult is that for a player whenever you're thinking bigger picture, like prizes on offers, what the biggest thing for him getting the World Cup?
I just, personally, you don't really think of the bigger picture, you think of the game that's coming up. If you win the game tomorrow night and you worry about the next game after that, you don't look too far ahead, and you'll worry about that whenever you do have enough points that you do qualify. That's when you enjoy it, but before that happens, you just focus on the game that's coming up.
Michael, sorry to bring back to the record again, but what does it mean to you to be alongside Billy Bingham, given he was the man that gave you your international debut?
It's a nice thing to have. Billy, I probably, he put a lot of faith in me, giving me my international debut at 18 years of age. I'd only been in the professional game at the time for maybe 3-4 months at Newcastle at that time in my career. So it's nice, and maybe, you know, the fact that he put that faith in me has maybe influenced me to put faith in young players as well, you know, and I think that it's a nice thing to have and something for me to be proud of, but it'll be made all the sweeter, obviously, if we get the right result.
And you talked about Connor's suspension earlier, like regardless of the rights or wrongs of the yellow cards, does it seem right to you that 2 yellows over the course of a 6 or possibly even 8-game campaign leads to suspension?
I think it's a little bit severe. I know obviously in UEFA and Euros it's 3. I think that but FIFA's always been 2. I suppose in a smaller group you could say, you know, normally I always felt that 2 bookings was you know, if you're playing in a 6-team group, for example, or a 5-team group, 2 was a little bit harsh. But look, that's the rules. They're there. I think if you watch the tackle back, there's a lot worse tackles in the game that were let go, and for some reason the referee produced a red card at that moment in time, or a yellow card. And obviously, despite all the cameras and VAR and everything we have, we're not allowed to look at that. So those are the rules. We just have to live with it.
Michael, not naming you here, but do you feel almost for referees, you quite rightly criticised the fact that he didn't book the guy who cleaved Isaac Price at the touchline right in front of you, and then about a minute later he brings out the card against Connor? Do you think sometimes referees almost react to that, to criticism from officials?
Well, I don't, it's a question for the referee, really, isn't it? I mean, the referee has to be impartial and he has to referee the game without any emotion. I anticipate, obviously, I know that that's difficult for the referees as well, but look, I can't really answer that, you know, but I'm in the game, you know, I can't stand there like a statue, Kenny. I'm emotional, I have to be in the game, so if it's my fault, I'll take that, you know, but it's part of the game, and I look at times how the other technical area reacts, so it's very much part of the game. I didn't think we were, in terms of our reaction in the game, was extreme. I've been opposite a lot of other technical areas that have been a lot more extreme. Yeah, look, that's something that obviously we can't change now.
Well, he was probably lucky he didn't hear my comments from where I was so much.
It's okay. Yeah. So maybe it's your fault, Kenny.
Looking at Germany, they were able to maybe make some changes at home to Luxembourg, try a few things out. That will help them even maybe resting players. That's an advantage for them. Is it an advantage for you that you've got a much more settled side, maybe Connor apart, and you may have other changes you consider, but you have had quite a settled 11 in this group so far?
Well, look, we've dealt with injuries in the previous camp. You know, we definitely had players missing from the games in September that would have started. Maybe that's less so now. You know, we're as close, I think, to possibly, you know, our strongest 14 or 15 players that we have at this minute in time in terms of starting. There's obviously players around the squad, and you know, sometimes when you've got limited choice in terms of numbers, you know, you get consistency just through the fact that you have limited choice. Whereas, you know, I think Germany have had, you know, they've changed system a little bit. They've got more choices in terms of personnel, but what you get, I think, with players of the level that, you know, Germany consistently pick, that, you know, they're playing top level club football. So coming in and playing international football, the step to an international game is not so big, if there's any step at all. Whereas obviously we are asking players to step up from sometimes a level of club football, which there is a step up, and I think at times that showed a little bit in some moments of the game in Cologne. But you know, we've looked at Germany in great depth, you know, and we know that you know, when they're good, they're very good. But we also believe there's areas we can hurt them, and you know, the team will be well prepared to hopefully do that.
That's not really his game. He's actually, you know, more on the deck and along with Verts and Gnabry and so on. Just how difficult a challenge is the German attack going to pose for you, and you know, based on what you were up against in Cologne as well?
No, you know, obviously the attack, you know how good the full team is, not even just the front three, you know, they're a strong opposition, but, you know, that's our job as a defence and, you know, as a team the whole way from the front to the back, that we have to try and nullify that and, you know, try and not let them play to their strengths and try to play to our strengths, and that's all you can do really, try to keep them away from moments where they have quality, and we know they do, but you just try and nullify that.
Sort of thing that supporters say ahead of a match, if you were guaranteed a point now, would you take it?
No, you want 3 points. You want to win every game you play, so that's all you can ask for really.
And Michael, just on that one, I mean, in the greater context of the group, would you settle for that now and say, well, that'll put us on 7, we have 2 more matches, we can win those and go with it?
I'm more a glass half full man, Kenny. You're clearly not. I would go for yes. Let's not settle for anything. Yeah, I'll settle for a top performance, and then we'll take whatever the result is.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you, Kenny. Okay, any questions from our German friends? Okay. Well, thanks very much.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, John. Thank you.
Cheers, John. Cheers, lads. Thank you.